Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is John S. Ray's Oberlin College Diary, 1945, Part 11. This is a continuation of Zook Family Memories Collection, or ZFMC number 28. Okay, so let's continue with the saga of John S. Ray at Oberlin College. March 7th, 1945. I had 4 classes this morning. I don't like my class setup at all. Something's got to go. I slept again this afternoon. Stan Zuris is on campus in uniform. He had his nose blown off in action overseas. He's much more sober than he used to be. There'll probably be a steady trickle of guys coming back from now on. March 8th, 1945. I followed up a physics quiz this morning. Taylor makes me so sore I can't see straight. I'm in a fog in physics. I got some good results in organic chemistry lab this afternoon. Our troops are raising holy hell in Germany right now. I studied in the library with the lads this evening, and we had a quick beer at Timmy's afterwards. I've decided to drop 1 hour of scientific German, the best idea I've had for some time. March 9th. Our organic chemistry is getting plenty rough. I graded freshman chemistry lab books this afternoon for 3 hours. Very enervating. It's both my first and last grading session. Rainey Rose and I went to rec in Presti's this evening. She is a very unusual woman. I'll have to give her more attention. March 10th. I worked on physics this morning. The light is finally beginning to dawn. I worked in the library on philosophy this afternoon. This evening we all took dates to the show and then the rec. We finished up at Timmy's as usual. I'm getting a little too lusty with Kathleen. March 11th. I worked breakfast and went back to bed until noon. We had a little softball game this afternoon. I talked over our campaign plans for the rest of the afternoon. Friedman's the man to beat. I finally got down to philosophy this evening and worked until 12:30 for the quiz tomorrow. March 12th. Nickel didn't give the quiz this morning after all. I worked in the library this evening. Bruce Smith is looming up as a big candidate in the student council election. The election changes face every time we turn around. March 13th. I dug my class picture plate out of the basement of the administration building. She promised the election stickers for next Thursday. I didn't do too well in organic lab this afternoon. The election picture isn't improving. The weather has been like spring for about a week now, really fine. March 14th. Well, the election picture changed abruptly this afternoon. Goldberg has switched horses and is backing a unit man for first place. You can't really blame the guy too much, though. I think there's still a good chance of my being on the council, though. Duff and I studied in the library this evening. We went out to Presti's afterwards. Tony and I chug-a-lugged 6 apiece. I got home all right, and I tried to do my physics, but didn't get too far. March 15th. I had my physics finished up by class time this morning. A very embittering thing happened this afternoon. Augie Meyer told me that I am ineligible for the council because of my 2 hours of incomplete in advanced quant. I did my best to get around the thing by talking with Dr. Broman and Dean Whitkey, but couldn't quite make it. Ironically enough, the election stickers were finished this afternoon. I covered a chapter of organic chemistry this evening. March 16th. I had a prof cut in philosophy this morning. Set pins for about 2 hours this afternoon. This evening, Rainey and I went to the Y splash party. We really had a fine time. Then we walked out to Presti's and met Duff and Papworth. By that time, we were really tired. A little alcohol didn't wake us up very much. Myrtle was feeling all right this evening, so we all rode back. Still didn't touch Rainey. I'm really beat. March 17th. I slept late this morning and studied half the afternoon and slept the other half. This evening, Rainey and I went to the show with Duff and Betty and then to the all-college. The show was Music for Millions and was really great. We went to Timmy's afterwards and all had root beer for a change. I still feel beat this evening. March 18th. I slept until 10:30 this morning and studied philosophy the rest of the morning, this afternoon, and the early part of this evening. At 10 o'clock, we picked up our beer dates in front of Talcott. I was with Mrs. Glazel, platonic all the way. She had never been in Timmy's before and was really a scream after a few beers. It rained on the way home, but we didn't mind. A very enjoyable evening. We filled out our applications for overseas work in the Motor Transport Command. March 19th. Our philosophy quiz was all right this morning. We studied in the library this evening. Tony set off a firecracker in the reserve room this evening, which I had gotten from Curtis. It really made one hell of a bang. We went down to the campus afterwards. March 20th. Today is the first of spring, although the weather has been cold and wet. I got caught up in organic chemistry lab this afternoon and pounded on the scientific German for 25 pages this evening. I've decided to reform for a while. March 21st. I had a long talk with Dr. Renfro this afternoon. He seems to be a right guy. He advised me not to go to grad school unless I am planning to go into research. Very interesting. I'm starting to organize my Easter flower campaign. It might turn into a gold mine. This evening, about 10 o'clock, Sholin called and wanted Bruce and I to take her and Rainey out to Presti's. She played on students tonight and wanted to celebrate. Rainey acted like a little bitch. I'm through with her if she doesn't change her ways very shortly. Student council elections were held this morning. Milt Andrews is president. All very interesting. March 22. I cut physics class this morning and got quite a bit done in organic lab this afternoon and pounded on the organic chemistry this evening. Duff and I were in the campus this evening with Johnny Morris. Quite a character. He'll be a fine preacher. March 23rd. I cut philosophy class this morning, and Kay and I went to rec until 9:30 this evening and then down to the campus. She took a late purr, and we went out to the Arboretum. The place was really beautiful. No schwunts. She acted rather hurt when I left Pyle at 11:10. March 24th. We played ball about 2 hours this afternoon. Both Ed Platt and Dick Redden blew in. Good to see the lads. This evening, Rainey and I went to rec and then out to Presti's. What a brawl. The whole Marine Corps was there. We played a little beer drinking game. Lots of fun. Rainey got just a little bit tight. Still no schwunts. March 25th. I got up in time to do my German before dinner this morning. A B-24 zoomed down over Gables this noon several times. I wonder who it was. I worked on philosophy this afternoon and finished it up this evening. March 26th. Our philosophy quiz was postponed until Wednesday. I started my limestone over this afternoon. I don't feel too bitter about it anymore. Then I ground out 25 pages of scientific German this evening. A very tiring day. March 27th. I got up in time to knock off a German assignment before physics class this morning and worked until 6:10 this afternoon in organic chemistry lab. Then studied this evening for the organic quiz tomorrow. Another very tiring day. March 28th. I think I cracked the philosophy quiz this morning and got about a C on the chemistry blue book. I picked up loose ends this afternoon. This evening a bunch of the lads went out to Presti's. Pile in, including Kay, was there also. We all got together a round table and had quite a time. Duff and I each chug-a-lugged 14 beers, and I got pretty groggy. March 29th. This has been a full day. I worked breakfast and had 2 labs. This evening I met June Papworth after church, and we hit the campus, Presti's, and Timbray's before the evening was over. She's more of a girl than I thought. March 30th. Today no classes were held because of Easter. I studied about half an hour and slept the rest of the day. This evening Tony, Bruce, Duff, and I caught the bus for Sandusky. The folks are all looking and feeling fine. We stayed up talking until almost midnight. March 31st. This morning we had breakfast about 10 o'clock, then we visited the wineries and climbed over an old slave ship for about 3 hours. We had dinner about 3:30 and then went out to Uncle Fred Zook's for a picnic. We all had a fine time. Then we came back to Sandusky, picked up the women, and had a party in our living room. Rather dull, but about the best we could do under the circumstances. April 1st. Today was Easter. We all went to church this morning ate heavily this noon, and drowsed this afternoon. Dick came back to Oberlin with us on the 3:30 bus. We all went to see Keys of the Kingdom this evening, a fine show. April 2nd. I took Dick to my classes today and did a week's philosophy and 25 pages of scientific German. The weather is getting wet again. April 3rd. I finished a German assignment before physics class this morning and got quite a bit done in organic chemistry lab this afternoon. We went to Glee Club and had a late date with Mrs. Glazel. Well, I suppose it was bound to happen. April 4th. He pulled an ornery quiz on us in philosophy this morning. I got a 69 or a C on my organic chemistry blue book. I saw my brother Dick off on the bus this afternoon. I think he enjoyed his visit. This evening, Kate Denman and I went to Rec and the library. We got several things squared around, and I'm knocking off early. April 5th. I spent the day in the lab. The Allied forces are only about 185 miles from Berlin, Germany. The European picture is looking much better. April 6th. We had an extremely interesting lecture on dyes in organic chemistry this morning. 2 of my limestone samples are finally to constant weight. I studied this evening for a physics blue book tomorrow. April 7th. Got rather bitched at the physics blue book. I think I pulled about a 75. Then studied philosophy for a while this afternoon, and then went downtown with the lads. This is the first Saturday night for quite a while that I haven't dated. Duff and I bowled a few games and went to the show. April 8th. I slept until noon today and finished up my philosophy this afternoon. We went to the Women's Glee Club concert this evening. It was really fine. April 9th. Something's fuzzed up on my limestone again, so I'm planning to start it over tomorrow. Damn it. Did my scientific German in an hour and went to a meeting of the student faculty discussion group leaders. It looks fairly interesting. I had a 196 this afternoon. Tony and I went out to Presti's this evening, and Charlie Truman from Sandusky was there. Quite a surprise. He bought the beers for about 2 hours. I had 11 and kept it pretty well concealed for a change. An unusual evening. April 10th. I've worked hard all day. This evening we went to Glee Club practice and raised quite a bit of hell afterwards in Sturgis, ringing the fire gong, screaming, etc. April 11th. This has been a very successful day, everything considered. I reported 75 pages of scientific German this morning and hit the philosophy quiz. Kay Denman and I doubled with Duff and Polly to the Rec, the library, and Timmy's this evening. April 12th. President Franklin D. Roosevelt died this afternoon at 3:35 of a cerebral hemorrhage. His death has stunned the entire world. I only hope that Harry Truman will be a big enough man to carry on. Franklin D. Roosevelt was truly a great man. April 13th. If President Roosevelt could have lived about a week longer, I think he would have seen the Yanks take Berlin, Germany. Our troops are only about 20 miles from the German capital now. World-shaking events are happening every day. My limestone is messed up again. I'm going to start it for the 5th and last time tomorrow morning. The whole thing bitches me. April 14th. I started my limestone over again and think it's okay this time, then slept almost all afternoon. I bowled a few games this evening and then studied philosophy. Kay Denman and I broke our date this evening. A memorial service for President Roosevelt was held this afternoon in the chapel. April 15th. I bowled with Duff for 2 hours this morning, then slept and did part of my German this afternoon. President Roosevelt was buried this afternoon. This evening, 3rd East had its party in spite of the weather. Everything went over all right. Kay and I got all fogged up as usual. April 16th. I cut 2 classes and slept this morning. My limestone seems to be coming out all right. Then I knocked off my scientific German, and I'm ready to knock it off myself. April 17th. I rolled my first match in the bowling tournament this evening. Came out pretty well with a 142, 145, 233, and a 520 series. And then I worked on organic chemistry this evening. April 18th. I had 4 classes this morning and got through everything all right. then study this evening. The Americans and the Russians are both going to hit Berlin about the same time. April 19th. I spent the whole day in lab. This evening, Duff, Taub, and I got into a long discussion of the proposed Dumbarton Oaks plan. It's quite a deal. April 20th. Taubman and I got a date with the Fraulein for a beer date at Timmy's this morning after class. However, she backed out at the last minute, so I got a beer date with Phil. She got tighter than usual and said some things which I'm sure she didn't mean. I was a little happy myself after I got back to MB. April 21st. I saw Oberlin's spring athletics begin with a track meet and a ball game. We won the ball game 1-0. It was pretty cold to watch. My blind date to the Gables formal this evening turned out all right. We had an okay time. April 22. The folks came over about 9:30 this morning and we all went over to Uncle Ted Zook's in Cleveland and had a big day. The student-faculty discussion went all right this evening. I'm beat, and I'm knocking it off early. April 23rd. I slept through philosophy class this morning and worked on limestone this afternoon. My new scientific German book is really rugged. April 24th. I've worked pretty hard today getting ready for tomorrow's quizzes. This evening, however, we dropped 2 stink bombs on the assembly downstairs and rang the chapel bell. Got most of the rope back, too. April 25th. Our little bell-ringing episode last night seemed to stir up quite a fuss on campus. It seems that everyone thought the war with Germany was over. Oh well. I predict a 72 on my organic chemistry blue book. Kay and I doubled with Duff and Marilyn Snyder to wreck the library and Timmy's. The beer put me asleep on my feet. To be continued. Now here's some writing that John S. Ray wrote that was found with his diary. The first is titled Ode to the White and Foaming Sea. As I cast mine eyes on yonder shore and often think of yore, we'll cease here for lack of further inspiration. The next essay is titled Virgin Forests. The sun poured down on the tangle of green jungle. Small red bees darted about in the tropical heat, the very quietness of the air. We'll cease here and begin treatise on economics. Treatise on economics. Economics is the science of investigating the possibilities of fruit production of Ohio State's Geology Department. She sang throatily with her well-formed body draped languorously over the tin can piano. The threadbare black satin dress she was wearing held tight going around the curves. Times like these try men's souls. At times one wonders about the reality of things on this earth. Are we really here, or do we just imagine it? Is it necessary to live a pure moral life if the things on the earth are not real anyhow? Is there another world? How can it be proved? If our existence ends with the grave, why should we worry about our actions before we enter the grave? Well, I'll tell you, son. Do you have any sporting blood at all? I do, and I'm willing to bet my material pleasures on this earth that there is another world. If I just fool away my time, and as a result lose my chances of entering the next world, which may or may not exist, I'd feel mighty foolish. Of course, I'd never find out if that were the case. However, I'm willing to take it easy and live a halfway decent life on the hope that something new and much better is waiting for me. I know that I haven't done such a fine job explaining this, and very possibly I am not approaching it from the right angle, but I think you understand what I mean. Das ist alles, compiled and composed by John S. Ray, C2H5OH plus CCl4. And there's another essay of John S. Ray titled The Night of April 5th, 1944. We of the undersigned Oberlin students, having of the partaken under part several shots involving ingredients of which were taken from the Severance Chemical Laboratory on the afternoon of the same day, hereby of the wish it to be made known to the student body publicly. We feel that the imbibing of alcoholic liquors is of the bad practice, and should herewith be discontinued on the campus. It is our most sincere belief The concerted study can of the not be carried to a successful while the students are interested in sodden activities. We hereby wish to be considered as of the instigators of the newly founded TAL, Total Abstainers League, which was recently inebriated on this campus. Men of Citadel, John S. Ray, April 5th, 1944. And here's another thing that's written that I found in my father's writings. Girls, girls, girls. What causes young men to sit up half the night in an effort to raise a mustache? What causes young men to be freaks to the sight as they teeter along the mash? What causes young men to spend all of their wealth in the purchase of diamonds and pearls? What causes young men to write letters by stealth? Well, I'll tell you, the answer is girls. What causes old men to put oil on their hair in an effort to be up to date? What causes old men to avow and declare that they've just turned 38? What causes old men to put dye on their stash and to comb out their wig till it curls? What causes old men to be giddy and rash? Well, I'll tell you, the answer is girls. What causes the Marines to make use of perfume in an effort to smell like a flower? What causes Marines to fret and to fume and to shine up their shoes by the hour? What causes a sailor to rush off to wreck and to practice a dip and some twirls? What causes a sailor to stick out his neck? Well, I'll tell you, the answer is girls. Girls, girls, girls. Forever and ever it's girls, with mad eyes and glad eyes and sad eyes and bad eyes, with pompadour hair and with curls. Girls, girls, girls. Beginning and ending with girls. You cause consternation, you queens of creation, you girls, girls, girls. What causes Marines to hide under their beds in an effort to stay out of sight? What causes the sailors to cover their heads and to post double watches at night? What causes civilians to shiver with fear and to hide in the trees with the squirrels? It's due to the fact that this is leap year and no one is safe from the girls. What causes a young girl to paint up her face and to color the tips of her toes? What causes a young girl to wear lots of lace and bracelets and buckles and bows? What causes a girl to read Mademoiselle in an effort to gain charm and poise? What causes a girl to put on the swell? Well, I'll tell you, the answer is boys. Boys, boys, boys. Forever and ever it's boys, with mad eyes and glad eyes and sad eyes and bad eyes. You treat us as if we were toys. Boys, boys, boys. Beginning and ending with boys. You cause trepidation. You wolves of creation. You boys, boys, boys. Now we have two comments on this passage from John S. Ray's Oberlin College Diary. The first is from Alice Garcia Ray. My dear wife, quote, I read the college life of your dear dad with great interest. In this issue, he really depicted the life of a typical college student with all the ups and downs. Alice Garcia Ray, Quezon City, Philippines. And the next is from the author himself, John S. Ray, quote, ZFMC 28 has been read and very much enjoyed. I still remember the great difficulty which I had with the limestone analysis in advanced quantitative chemistry. I also recall vividly that it was necessary to get good grades at Oberlin College in order to keep my scholarship. It was necessary to have some sort of balance between studying and all the other things I wanted to do. John S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio, USA. So that concludes today's presentation, John S. Ray's Oberlin College Diary, 1945, Part 11. Good luck to you with your family history efforts if you are pursuing them, finding and preserving and sharing old family letters and diaries and photographs, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.